I'd like to introduce you to Judy Cheung-Wood. She's the CEO and founder of Skin B5, and we'll hear a lot more about that in a minute. Judy and I have known each other since 2019 when she was in my very first CEO masterclass, and she's gone from strength to strength since then. Judy, welcome.
Good to be here.
It's great to have you here. Great to chat again. So I wanted to just talk a little bit more about your story. I mean, it was an unusual start to come up with a fantastic nutraceuticals business. So tell me, what motivated you to do what you were doing?
Since I was 12, I've always had skin problems. Could be some rash showing up, but obviously as you get into puberty, it becomes acne, and it just never goes away. It kind of lived with it. I wasn't kind of at a point where it's so severe that I have to, take harsh medication. But it bothers me. As a teenager, you're self-conscious. I guess I lived with it until I was in my early 20s. And when I was in uni, I tried so many things. Yeah. So by the time I got to uni, with a bit of pocket money with your part-time job in between your classes, even I don't have a lot of pocket money, I would spend all of it in expensive skincare. I would walk into the department store because I figured if supermarket stuff doesn't work, surely this expensive stuff would work. So I've always got the interest in seeking a solution for myself. And I know, I was a town planner, so a lot of people were wondering, I was a town planner. It's kind of like the very complete opposite to beauty and, health industry. Yeah. It's quite I work for the largest developers across, in Sydney and US and New Zealand. It's a fledgling career. I was really good at what I was doing, so it was a complete shock. But I think a lot of people don't realize that when I was in school, I've always, my marks are always the highest in the areas of biology and chemistry. So I've always got that natural interest in those subject. So I guess it's more the reason why I picked town planning is more about appeasing my own family. In my tradition or culture, but just like a lot of Eastern culture, they would expect, the child to get a stable job, professional job, good earnings, good career path, but it was never really my passion. So I guess how the Skin B5 started was I was working in Sydney at the time. And someone told me about a medical paper about vitamin B5. It could treat acne, and have a look at it. And I did look at it, and I thought, I have never taken any supplement in my life. I thought I eat very healthy. I come from a family background where it's all about holistic medicine. So I thought, surely I don't need supplement. But I thought about it. I'm still breaking out. So surely there's something I haven't done. So then kind of piqued my interest. I did some research. The paper looks good. The hypothesis looks sound. All the biochemistry stuff looks, very interesting. So I was on a mission to search for vitamin B5 supplement, but there's none around. There's nothing. So I started Googling. Obviously, that was the start of e-commerce. Most of the e-commerce sites at the time that you can buy supplements are all overseas. So I looked at all the US sites and I thought, geez, they all look homemade, dodgy. I don't want to put my body at risk. So I decided to go out and search for across Sydney. I was working near Pitt Street Mall at the time, so I searched for all the health food stores and didn't find anything until eventually I come across a GNC store, surprisingly, next to the Fitness First gym. So they're actually mostly selling supplement for bodybuilders and people going to the gym. But I found vitamin B5 there, straight capsules, and I was so excited. I grabbed the whole shelf, literally the whole shelf. And I was paying for it. I walked up to the counter, and the guy, he's really buffed. Obviously, he works in the gym too, probably. He looked at me and said, I'm so excited you're also discovering the amazing power of vitamin B5. And I looked at him and said, I'm pretty sure I'm using it for different reason than you do. And I said, what do you use it for? Because I'm curious. He said, oh, it's amazing for me to give you energy. It makes me exercise longer, better and more stamina. And he looked at me and said, what are you using it for? I said, skincare. So that's basically the start of it.
Right.
I started following the hypothesis, starting to take the supplement.
Yeah.
Within a month, my skin, I could, obviously, if you look at yourself every day, you tend not to notice, but people around me starting to comment. They say, oh, have you done something different to your skin? It's a lot clearer, it's a lot nicer. Then when I visited my mum, she was in Hong Kong at the time, she went from very critical of my skin, with the last time I saw her, which is what Asian's mum do, to commenting on, you're actually starting to look after your skin. So that's the moment I realized the world needs this. Yeah. This is what everyone else like myself searching for a solution is missing out on. Yeah. I think that's when I kind of an obsession started to develop, and I would call it epiphany, because it's just something like the best way I could describe it is like a bomb went off in my head. It was a complete obsession. I can't think about anything else, and this is what I'm going to do. No one's going to stop me. Yeah. And obviously, but in transition, reality is you got to pay the rent and got to live. So I still need a full-time job, well paid. So I basically, after work, I teamed up with a friend of mine, and we decided to, let's go for it. What do we need first? We need business plan, marketing plan, no idea, but financial projections. So I thought, okay, time to start learning. So every single evening after work, I would go to the bookstore in the middle of Pitt Street Mall, and basically I bought heaps and heaps of that. Couple of piles of books in my bedroom, so a bit of a cliche, but I did start my business in my one-bedroom apartment in Darlinghurst. Between the two of us, we knocked out our financials, a business plan, a marketing plan, and we said, right, looks like we can't just start the business with a personal loan from a bank. Because you need buy stock and manufacturing. I thought, maybe we need and our plan was to launch straight into retail. So, we need a couple of $1 million too. Yeah. So then I thought, we're going to find a couple of $1 million. And obviously that's when sometimes I look back, sometimes being naive and positive takes you a long way, because I basically just said, right, we're going to get some venture capital. And no one laughed at us. So obviously they kind of like, oh, you can try. So I said, yep, I'm going to try. So I literally go and ring out different capitalist VC firms and tell us, I've got this great idea. It's going to set the whole acne treatment world on fire. Yeah. You got to look at it. The curious thing was, even though they said, make it's a couple of $1 million first, then come and see me. Yeah. But surprisingly and amazingly, no one actually said it's a bad idea. So that's when I realized we're onto something. And I thought, this is encouraging. I mean, I'm expecting them to kind of close the doors and go make some money and come and ask for money. But I said, great news is no one actually said we've got a stupid idea.
Yes.
So that's actually when give us some encouragement. So at the time, it was the start of there's some online platforms showing up with angel investors offering, supporting businesses. And there was my partner at the time said, why don't we just put it up there? Let's just, we've done all our work. Why don't we just get up there and pay a couple of $100 fee and see what happens. Lo and behold, I think it's just a short week or something, we've got a doctor from Tasmania who owns a few medical centers contacted us. Yeah. And obviously it was in complete shock. And he said, I really love your ideas and I really want to see where you can take this concept because we have no product. It's just ideas on paper. Yeah. So he came to Sydney, flew to Sydney, and we, even though we didn't have much money, we decided to take him to a fancy restaurant in Darlinghurst. Yeah. You got a first impression, right? So we thought we got to put on a show and dazzle him. And it was a fancy restaurant. I even, in my effort, laughed about it nowadays, in my effort to dazzle him, I even brought my vitamin B5 capsules because he questioned me. He said, vitamin B5 is because he's a doctor, he knows. Yeah. It's very bitter. How are you going to mask it? And I just grabbed my bottle out. I said, it's not that bitter. So I pulled out the capsules, pulled it apart, put it straight into the water, drank it. And I said, see, it's fine. So that was the length I got to, took to basically try to impress him. And the good thing is I did impress him somehow. May not be through just a sheer idea. Maybe he just thought.
Pure commitment.
Pure commitment and enthusiasm. So a couple of days later, he called and said, right, I do want to back you. Yeah. There's good news and bad news. Which one do you want first? And I said, I'll just give you the bad news first. So the good news will become more palatable. And he said, the good news is I want to back you. Yeah. And but the bad news is you won't get a couple of $1 million. But he said, I can offer you $100,000. So if you can make it work, change your sales strategy, launch strategy, there you go. There you have it. You've got your $100,000. So Of course we're not going to turn it down. Yeah. So we say, yes, let's do this. And that was the start of it. Wow. So that the first 2 years, obviously still holding down a full-time job and trying to do this. But yes, that was the start of it and become a long-time obsession of mine.
So you brought the obsession to life. So tell us about what Skin B5 is now.
Skin B5 is basically an alternative to medication. So when someone's got a real acne problem, I'm not talking about some random breakouts. Quite often they'll try everything and they're only temporary solutions. And a lot of topical products on the market, you can even probiotics nowadays, but it's not really a lasting solution because acne is a very complex problem. So if someone's got a very persistent problem, obviously, and it does impact them emotionally, mentally, it's got a very strong mental health aspect to it. So then that's when a dermatologist may start off with some antibiotics, but nowadays the evidence is that it doesn't help, and it contributes, and they're reluctant now because it contributes to the resistance problem that we have across the world. Right. So obviously then if a bit of probiotics doesn't help or even topical, then the progression is that if someone really needs to shut it down to save their mind, save their mental health, because acne is not a life-threatening disease, but nonetheless it's got psychological impacts. So they will prescribe isotretinoin, which is very powerful, very high dosage of vitamin A derivative, and it's got quite well-documented side effects, obviously depending on the dose, but nonetheless unpleasant side effects. So I guess what we're offering is something is effective to be able to overcome, but the difference is that it's not just a short-term solution, it's actually have a lasting impact. Really? Because it's a supplement, you can actually take it a higher dose to treat, to get it under control, but you can actually treat it like a daily supplement that will not only resolve your skin problems, but it improves your immunity, gives you better energy. Because there's a mix of bees in that too. It's actually naturally quite energizing for. People feel happy. Like some people, some of my friends even say, "What did you give me? You give me happy pills." And I obviously panic when I say, "What did you give me?" But nonetheless, they said, "Oh, I actually feel happy and feel good." So that is the difference. We're offering not just a solution, but it's a solution that has a very strong aspect in wellness. So it improves your health at the same time, and that's actually what underlies why it's an attractive treatment for a lot of our customers, especially parents. Because parents don't really want to put their kids first option medication. And medication also, at some point you have to stop. You have to, then eventually may come back. Then our customers always tell us they want a long-term solution after medication. And don't get me wrong, medication works. But I guess people seeking alternative and holistic way. So that's what we offer.
Yeah, right. So what did your mum say when you decided that you were going to stop being a town planner?
I remember I delivered the news on the phone and there was a very long pause. And because I'm quite an intuitive person, I can already feel it. I feel it in my, I felt it in my being, her burning rage. but knowing that she knew that I was a headstrong person, so she knew not to put me down straight away. But the long pause said it all.
Yeah.
And obviously, I found out, she wouldn't say it to myself because knowing that I'm headstrong, I was just getting into argument and she didn't want to do that because we had a great relationship. But then you hear about it in other ways. So the things that she would say to her siblings, because she's got a large family, a family of 12. So she's very close to her siblings. So she would tell anyone, any sibling who would listen that so disappointed with her, don't know what she's doing, she's throwing her life away, don't know what to do, I'm so devastated. But I just have to block it off. I said, I don't really, and as long as you start saying to my face, it's almost like there's a bit of distance, so I can ignore it, but nothing's going to stop me.
Yeah. Wow. And so your venture capital partner or your angel investor, is he still in the business now?
No, not anymore. He's very supportive and I was really grateful for all the guidance and I guess supportiveness he gave us. How it came about that he's not in our venture anymore got nothing to do with him. It's just that you learn your first lessons on entrepreneurship. You very naively thinking, oh, just team up with your friends and we both say, yes, let's jump on it.
Yeah, friends, fools and family.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're not really thinking, do we have our values aligned? Do we have the same goals? Do we even have the same vision? It was just like, yeah, let's do it. But there's no discussions of that. Yeah. And I guess over time, I just realized we have very different way of, we're completely opposite. Don't get me wrong. I think,
you just grew up.
Yes. And the startup team, you do need complementary skills. I mean, but actually, I should have mentioned there's 4 of us. Friend and the father who's I guess providing guidance, and then our investor. But eventually, it comes to a point where we realized the only way that the business can carry forward, because nothing's happening when it came to a complete halt. I would describe it as it was on a life support for almost a year. So it got to a point where what are we doing? Are we just parting ways? There's no point wasting anyone's time. But I knew if we would just keep the company, I would be the person who would be able to take it to the next step. Yeah. So with the support of my husband, he could see the testimonials coming through. Obviously, he could see that I was struggling mentally at the time. I think part of being an entrepreneur, especially because I had a big shift of pretty much abandoned my career. Yeah. So none of my friends understood what I was doing. I said, "What are you going to do?" And I skincare or what? Yeah. So it becomes quite isolated emotionally and even socially. So when the time comes to say, well, this is not working, it does have at the time, I wasn't actually thinking about it, but my husband obviously close to me, he could see that I was struggling mentally, emotionally, because it was my baby. Yes. I basically gave everything up for it. So to get to that point where it's not going anywhere on life support, relationships, the partnership is not working out, it's devastating. But it kept me going because all the customers, I guess, talking about the why, they were my driving force, because I could see young girls, teenagers, they wrote me very heartfelt, sometimes without line breaks, just on and on and on, talking about sharing their life story, how it impacted them, it sounds very dramatic, but they literally use the word, your products changed my life. So I just felt like I couldn't let it go because I could feel so many people who lost hope.
Yeah.
So that's actually, and my husband, like, when I see them, I get excited, I share with him. So he's seen them. So when he suggested, maybe do you think they would let you buy them out? And it never crossed my mind. But when he suggested that, and I said, if we can make it happen, I said completely.
Yeah.
So I guess, talking about negotiation skills and tactics, I do realize at the time it's either buy them all up or if it's just the investor saying, I just felt like at the time the politics of it, human politics, right? And it won't happen. So I actually privately talked to my investor and said, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to, basically run it myself, and I want to take back ownership and actually do something of this idea that I started. And he was very supportive. He said, look, Judy, I would love to be part of the team and part of the journey, but if you think having me letting go of my shares and sell it to you, it will facilitate the transition, I would do it. So that was, and I was really grateful that he did that. So from that point onwards, it was the shift transition. It was just shift transaction. So from a team to now on my own, it's got its own set of challenges.
It has.
Yes, it's difficult trying to run a business by yourself.
So tell me about that. Tell me about the challenges and how you overcame them.
I guess there's no one else.
Because there's been a series of challenges along this journey.
Yes. So on my own, what I'm going to do. So at the time, I did have a business consultant who gave me some strategic advice in terms of what channels to go to, how to grow. So by that time, we already have a website, but we can't just rely on a couple of emerging export business. So they're very impressed with our products and then basically said, we want to start importing. So we've got those, the website, 2 export partners, but we have no channels in Australia.
Right.
So that's when we hired him to give us some advice, what to do, how to build the channels. And basically, even though I was on my own, I learned very early on the power of surrounding myself with advisors who's got experience and has got the knowledge to always give you guidance. And that's when, but still, the reality is I've got to do everything.
Yeah.
So I literally did everything from website to optimization to labels, designs, packaging, working with manufacturers, doing all the planning, doing the financials, paying bills, everything.
Yeah.
I guess that's why it's slow. And obviously then not soon after that, my child came along too. So you kind of like everything takes even slower. After she was born, and I think just before actually, mother actually called me, who was a customer, and she told me, I thought, it's a customer called a number of calls and said, I want to talk to you. So I spoke with her and she told me how the products basically saved her daughter's life and mental health because she was on a downward spiral at the time. And there was an emergence of younger adults on social media experiencing negative impacts. And when she was breaking out too, it's really impacting on her. Yeah. Yes. So she basically shared her story and I was blown away. At the end of it though, she asked me a lot of questions about how you're selling the products. So I thought this is a strange question. Yeah. It's a very strange series of questions from her customer. She said, where are you selling? How are you selling? Do you have a sales team? And I said, didn't know what to say. And then eventually she said, actually, I would love to help you sell the products. If you would have me, I would love to be your sales rep because you said I worked in pharmacy before. I know how pharmacy works. Even that it was a distance. So I was in, by the time we moved down to Melbourne, but she's in Queensland. Yeah. And we did have our first health food distributors up in Queensland. Yeah. So I thought, maybe it is a sign. Maybe that's meant to be. So
mind you, we look for those
I hired her and she was really passionate and pretty much my number one advocate, not just as an employee, but also brand advocate because she has a very strong first-hand experience to share. And she was very determined and she literally visited health food stores, pharmacy, anyone who would listen, and naturopaths, and basically knocking on doors.
Yeah.
And we pretty much, talking about challenges, one of them was, novel, great idea, but how do you know it works? Like, where's your proof?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, we don't have a clinical trial, but we're happy to offer you the products free of charge. You try it. See it for yourself. If you've got patients or customers or even sisters, brothers, try it, see how it works. And actually through a series of these seed, nowadays they're called seeding, build up a whole heap of testimonials and advocates. Yeah. And they start to go tell the naturopaths about it. They all start to tell their pharmacists about it. And actually through those series of word of mouth, we've people starting to notice that our existence and starting to think, oh, maybe they're onto something.
Yeah, yeah. So you started to get some demand. How did you build a supply chain?
I guess one of the ways I think is that I'm an all or nothing person.
Yeah.
I either do it or I don't do it. We'll save my breath, we'll save my time. Or if I want to do something from day one, I wanted to build this as a global brand. Yeah. I never wanted it to be selling. Some people suggested me, you've got a great product. Why don't you sell in the market? I said, absolutely not. I said, not to say market is not a sales channel, but I said not for my product because I've got greater ambition for it. Yeah. So that's when talking about supply chain, that's when I always have to have the mindset that I need, whatever I set up, it needs to be scalable. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I did was obviously local manufacturing. Local manufacturing meant that the supply chain is pretty short. Yeah. We don't have to, and I teamed up with the best in the industry. Mm. That's why I always believe in, if you want to build something in solid foundation, you got to work with the best. Yeah. So I work with the best formulators. I work with the best nutritionists. I work with the best manufacturer to bring my products to life. Yeah. And packaging used to come from China, but over time I realized that's where you're creating a lot more complexity and risk in the supply chain. And slowly, I also work with local partners if I can. Right. And when it comes to warehousing, same concept. I don't go for the biggest 3PL because I've had experiences with them when you just becomes a little guy that's lowest in priority. So I learned to also work with people who they're professional, they know what they're doing, they've got the capabilities and they've got the technology to fulfill online orders as well as B2B orders. But you're
still important to them.
Yes, we can build relationships with the owners. We can have a conversation. I can just pick up the phone and there's an issue, it's urgent, and they will go out of their way to help me. So a lot of these things do help minimize the risk in my supply chain. Yeah. And obviously all the typical things like forecasting, making sure stock is available. I think as a startup, we've all learned our lesson. We run out of stock because we didn't forecast it correctly. Yeah. And those lessons, no one wants to repeat because you literally sit there, you've got no products, nothing to sell. You sit there twiddling your thumb, waiting for the product to come before you can invoice anyone. Yeah. Those very stressful.
Yeah. And so one of the challenges that most emerging and fast-growing businesses face is that of cash flow. So was that a challenge for you on your journey?
Constant.
How did you deal with it?
Constant. Especially we have a very big working capital need because you need to make the products before you can sell it. So that's sucked up a lot of the cash flow. It meant that we couldn't really put a lot into marketing. So, and obviously we just have to, I guess, make sure that we're making ends meet. And we earlier on we've got obviously family to support the cash flow. We had the seed investor in the early days, and then later on when I was on my own, we were obviously using bank facility. I even had used EMDG, but I think a lot of from what I've heard a lot of the startups made the same mistake. When you already have exporting early days, you use it up way too early. We should have waited, but not all of these. But nonetheless, it helps the cash flow. Even the export grants, when we have an export, the EFIC export working capital facility, I tried that too, and the bank working capital support, and more recently, actually. I formed a JV with RS6 Pharmaceutical, now DBG Group is one of the largest pharmaceutical group in the country, and they obviously help inject some cash to help us grow as well, so which I'm very, very grateful of.
Fantastic. And so vitamin B5, often consumed in capsule or tablet form. How did you develop your product range?
So
is it just capsules and tablets now, or?
At the beginning, yes, our very first products, even a powder form. Like I don't know, I'm not sure why we thought powder would work. We had so many challenges.
So good.
we tried to sell it mango and strawberry flavored. I still remember the packaging. It's a bit like taggy thinking back now, but it's got a mango and strawberry on the front beak to make sure people understand it tastes nice. It's just like your smoothies. Not. So obviously from there we learn lessons. As much as I hate the concept of swallowing tablets, but that's the only way. Like we work with the formulators and say, well, there's many reasons you need to have it on our tablets because vitamin B5, vitamin Bs, and including B5, they're highly unstable. So you do need to encapsulate it and protect it, and doing this and doing that, and that's how we transition from a powder to drink into a tablet. So then actually that's when we're starting to realize, people struggling with acne, they're actually also struggling with, topical skincare. It's really hard to find something that works for them. So we just thought, well, the natural extension would be a bit of a routine based. And part of my thinking was also, I'm actually at the time, developed a proprietary formula. So it's not just vitamin B5. Through kind of trial and error, starting to refine what are the combination of ingredients and actually have a great efficacy results through amplifying each of the ingredients, amplifying each other. For example, we added higher dose vitamin B3, like now you hear about all the time relating to the skin health, integrity, anti-inflammation, even, reversing some of the cellular damages, but we adopted that high dose approach very early on. But also folic acid, biotin to boost, additional stuff to boost, but not on its own with limitation, but amplifying each other, like even collagen boosting ingredients like silica and copper to help regenerate the skin. So from day one, we always wanted this to be truly a complex, not just a single faceted formula. I want it to be, I guess, probably comes from my, I'm lazy. I don't want to take so many different supplements. I just want to have one that will have multiple impacts on my skin. So not only resolving my acne, but it will also help my skin to regenerate and resolve scarring over time because you help turning over your skin cells and boosting the growth and cell division, and also making you feel good. You can take it as a supplement. So. I ended up patented the formulation. Oh, wow. I got the Australian patent in 2015. And that obviously, I never had the mindset that, now I've got a patent. If anyone's trying to copy me, I'm going to sue the hell out of them. Because I'm realistic. I know there's no way you can sink all your cash into it. You can't. You can't have that mindset thinking you sue your way. To scare your competitors away. So out of that need to create more complexity in the range, so not rather than just relying on complexity in one product, that's where we're starting to add other products to create a routine. So to create a more intellectual property into it. Like we'll obviously put a bit of time and not just another skincare. We've really put our thought into. It won't be like the skincare product won't be like any other acne treatment products because it's supposed to work to support and enhance the efficacy of our supplement, which is a leading treatment product. The skincare product is all about restoring, soothing the skin, healing the skin, help the skin kind of rebalance and protect the skin barrier. So that's actually how we start extending the range.
Right.
So 2019, that's when we also added superfood in just before COVID. And it's also out of the need that at the time, there's an explosion of superfood. And I started taking some myself because I started taking supplement. And spirulina, it was one of my go-to superfood. I love it. So then you start to realize, I went to health food stores, I would have come out with 5 different products. I have the greens, then I have the super fruits, which is the reds and the rainbow colors. And then I have a collagen one, then probiotics started to become a thing. I said, I have another probiotic. So
all of
and all of a sudden it dawned on me, exactly, I spent $300. It's just gathering dust because I'm just too busy. So when one of staff members said, we got to extend the range, we got to include superfood, I said the only way that I would do it is if I can come up with a all-in-one type formula, because I said, if I'm not going to take it, no one else will. I said, it has to be a easy to adopt type products. And so I talked to very highly qualified nutritionists and said, if we're going to do that, is it possible? I said, I want to have it all in one. And she said, well, it's not going to be cheap, but it's possible. So she basically, she said, what ingredients do you want? And I said, it's another story, which is where I used to, when I was in the US, I had so much time and I read so many holistic health nutrition books. So I'm starting to kind of gather all my knowledge from that period where I had nothing else to do and read all these books. And I thought, right, I do have an idea what I want in it. So I sent her a big long list. I said, these are the ones I must have in the formulation. And the rest, you can make suggestions. And that's how I got our superfood into.
Fantastic. So that's quite would you say it's a narrow range, but it actually it's all consistent with the theme of how do we actually improve the skin wellness and support the people who need it the most,
Yeah, correct. We kept it tight because acne is still a niche, and you can't really have many products. Don't get me wrong. I did have at one point. I thought, I should have all these products too, because I was watching at the time Proactive got into the Australian market, and they were rapidly ramping up all their range, starting from the cleanser, moisturizer, and all of a sudden, before I know it, you see makeup powders, you got solutions, you got cream, you got this and that, and I thought, maybe I should be doing that too and get more revenue from more products. But then when I was contemplating it, I quickly also saw them obviously didn't work, and their range went from explosion of maybe 20, 30 SKU, went back to just a narrow range. And I thought, maybe I am onto something, just keeping it narrow. Obviously more from a practicality reasons is to kind of make it a range that I can manage with minimal human resources. I don't want to create such a big complexity that it's going to kind of fall over.
So tell me about building a team, because you wanted to keep it something that was controllable and manageable. So how did you go about building your team, and what were the challenges?
I think it goes back to at the very early days. I considered my business model, and I decided very early on that I wanted to keep it a very lean and very tight team. So I researched and looked at many. Is it possible? Is it possible to build brand with just minimal amount of people, and not kind of have a big team to manage? Also comes from my natural inclination. My managing people is not my favorite thing to do. So I try to find ways to keep it leanest, as lean as possible. So my thinking was, I want, I guess, drivers in a team, not passengers. So I identified things that I believe I could outsource and adapt into changing conditions very quickly without having to, because the hiring and firing process is very difficult. time-consuming, emotionally really draining for me. So my philosophy, yes, and the philosophy is, if anyone's going to join the team, they have to be they are very good in their own with a certain set of skill sets, and together we have complementary skill sets. And I actually quite enjoy having debates and civilized discussions, and I don't take anything personally. Like let's just have a discussion and solve problems. So I actually, and I always say, I'm not above you. We're all equals. I need you to contribute as much as I contribute to the team, and I would listen the same. It's not just about my ideas. I want to hear your input too. So things like logistics, outsource. What I absolutely didn't want to outsource is customer relationships. So customer relationships, absolutely. So because some people would say, oh, why don't you just outsource the customers, all your inquiries, the customer service? I said, no way, because I need to own that, and the relationship and the loyalty, and also hear the feedback from the customers. But early days, if we don't have the capabilities, we will identify sometimes short-term contract-based, project-based, hiring very good people, that consulting basis. But then we hired sales and marketing at the time we needed it. And also then later on, we also need someone to manage the pharmacy channel because I was actually amazed looking back. I mean, again, naivety sometimes makes you kind of charge along, and you getting into the pharmacy wholesalers. I mean, looking back and now what people tell me, it's actually very, very a difficult thing to do, to be accepted and even let alone staying there. So I did it all just from a very small team of 4 of us, finance, accounting, sales and marketing, and then key account management, and then myself. And then the rest of it will be consulting coming in at different stages. Like I had Grant Thornton, the GNC team, retail specialists help me with the pricing strategy and pricing modeling, and to make sure that we take into account all the true costs of doing business in different channels. That's really helpful. And I had strategy consultants, and also then I got into the entrepreneurs program. And obviously had a business advisors, and Mike Sewell, he was really, really good, and he's genuinely trying to help, and I've got so much time to give me, and I'm really, really grateful. So through these, I guess, advisors and consultants along the way really helped us, even a small tight team. We were able to move forward and build something.
Yeah, well, you have. And so, skepticism. How did you handle educating a market where you had glowing references from your customers, the consumers, but to get to your consumers, you had to have distributors who, frankly, already had a full set of acne treatment ranges. Whether or not they were effective or not is irrelevant. There must have been a fair amount of skepticism. How did you handle that?
A lot of skepticism, a lot. Again, we started overcoming by just saying, because acne is such a common skin condition, you can always find a colleague, a family member, someone you work with, your boss, someone is struggling something at some stage. It could be their teenage kids, but even as an adult, some people actually suffering themselves, could be starting from late 30s and in their 40s, hormonal changes. So there's always a subject who could benefit from my product. So whoever was willing to try, obviously we have, if you have a target, let's say, we need to impress that buyer. We're starting to seed people around them. Try the products, and obviously when they see the amazing results, they all become my best advocate. So they would say, we got to help this brand to get into wholesalers. So one by one, we managed to get the audience to listen to our pitch. And obviously I still remember my first meeting with Sigma. Oh my goodness, they asked us to go pitch with them, and I said, who's going to be in the meeting? And I looked at it, they're all the big guns. I said,
Yeah.
why are they all here? Why are they all here? Talking about skepticism. So one of
Yes.
basically the manager, the retail merchandising manager, I heard, then I hired a consultant who came from a pharmaceutical industry. I said, first, I need a crash course. It's got to tell me all the jargons and how it works and all those things. So she gave me a crash course.
Yeah.
Then I said, you have to come to a meeting with me. I said, I'm very scared. And she came and supported me. So when they walked in, Skepticism, I saw my brochure that we sent her along with the samples, full of scribbles.
Right.
Full of she's done her homework. She's going to have lots of questions. So basically, they're all hammering questions left, right, center, and I don't even remember what I said.
Yeah.
You're just in that zone of answering questions. But then at the end of the meeting, I said, how did it go? I said, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't even know what I said. But then later on, they said, yep, we're going to take you on.
Wow.
And I thought, So I guess there must be something they recognize. And later on, I think maybe I realized, I think it's the emergence of people kind of holistic, or the consumer is actually demanding holistic solutions for something like acne treatment, because conventional treatments are harsh, and a lot of people are looking for alternative. There's a bit of it's just same as I was always amazed. The people who bought my products right from the beginning, like day one, launched my website. I even laughed because I said my banner looks like I'm selling toothpaste. But because we've got big smiling people stock photos and with teeth showing so much and bright shining light, but they still bought my products. And I started to think, what is that? There must be a level of desperation in the psyche that drives them to, it's an unknown brand. Yes, it's made in Australia, but no one knows who we are.
Yeah.
They're willing to try and put this is talking about ingestible. They're willing to put what we have to offer into the body in their quest. In their quest to resolve the skin problem. So I guess it's skepticism, but it's the customers leading the charge in my story that help overcome a lot of skepticism.
Absolutely. Well, I guess going a step further, I mean, general practitioners and specialists, dermatologists, I mean, in the era that we are in now of the 6-minute medicine, to prescribe Reacetone or something else like that is the easy solution. How have you been able to deal with, the need for clinical trial data or they're quite a change-resistant bunch, I would have thought.
Yeah, this is very surprising where there is, I think, obviously it's also time. Like I think maybe 10 years ago, there's a lot more skepticism in holistic health. But I think fast forward nowadays, the amazing thing was Asian dermatologists, maybe because of the cultural background where holistic medicine is a thing. So they embrace it without a lot of questions. Obviously, we've got medical papers to show the efficacy of vitamin B5. So they looked at it and then actually embraced it without a lot of questions.
So they were early adopters.
They're early adopters. And now we're starting to have leading dermatologists that we work with in Australia basically also have knowledge of how vitamin Bs especially can work well for the skin. Like you see dermatologists talking about vitamin B3 for, to help prevent skin cancer. And vitamin B5, so when I was looking at doing clinical trials, I was talking to Professor Rodney Sinclair, and he looked at I said, I'm looking to do a clinical trial. And he said, do you have any information about your hypothesis? And I said, yes, there's some existing clinical data on vitamin B5. I would love, and he said, if you send it to me, let's have a look. So I was sitting in his office, again, very nervous because I'm talking to a leading dermatologist. As I was getting ready and bracing myself for, comments and questions, and that I may not be able to answer because I'm not a dermatologist. But when he was looking through the papers and looking at the results, and he actually did say, he said, I think I can run the trial for you. because he said, if I looked at the data, I looked at the information, if we think we're not going to get a good results for you, we're not going to ask you to waste your money knowing that you're just not going to get the results that you were hoping for. So that's actually where I realized, okay, there was a group of dermatologists really supportive in when it comes to holistic medicine. So that's when is the same evidence that we use now to talk about the efficacy. And yes, we actually embarking on a journey of working with dermatologists, locally leading dermatologists to help, I guess, educate. Obviously, they have to believe it themselves first. But yeah, we're on a journey to. But there are, I think, the current dermatologists, they're quite a lot more open-minded.
Logistics, customer experience, finance, reporting. So how did you get on top of that? I mean, just doing everything doesn't work. And there's not enough hours in the day, and you've got a family, and you've actually got to have a life as well, although that's questionable for most entrepreneurs. Their business often becomes their life.
Yes.
So how did you distill down what were the things that were the real priorities for you?
I do, because it is overwhelming. So I guess that's why when I joined your course, the critical few concept really resonated with me, because I think intuitively I realized I can't do everything. It's so overwhelming that I don't have enough time. I have a young child, and my husband's job takes him away all the time. So it means that not only I'm solely running the business, but also solely managing my household. So that you're so overwhelmed. Sometimes you're kind of paralyzing because you don't know what to do, and you're running around with chicken without head. So I decided to intuitively realize I just have to. And I started reading books about techniques of what to do. And one of the things that I started doing is also just I can't do everything. Just take a deep breath, one thing at a time. So then obviously when you sit down thinking, if today I can do a couple of things that I would enable my business to move forward, then I would just focus on getting those two things done, and the rest I can basically maybe take my time to do it. So, for example, even down to day, when I check my emails, I always make sure I prioritize emails of other people waiting for me for information to complete their bit of work. So they come first. So I have to give them what they need to continue on their work. So it's kind of like I visualize in my head. It's like I'm spinning all these plates. I can't let those plates stop. So when I go through my email and say, these guys, I can't let them down. They have to keep spinning the plates. Then I can have a bit of breather to do other things.
So delegation's an essential part of what you do then.
Yeah, so that's why I getting better at. I wouldn't say I'm the best because at delegation, because I still have that tendency, because I thought, is it easier to do it myself?
It'll just be fun.
Because it'll be faster. By the time I write my feedback, I probably already done it myself because I've done everything myself. So it's not like I don't know how to do it. But obviously, like in the spirit of delegation, I was like, okay, stop yourself, Judy. You've got to let other people do it. Exactly. So then you're like, okay, this is how you need so much patience. I tend to be impatient. So over time, I learned to control my urges and become patient and letting people time to not just time to learn, but time to do things so I can delegate, and also time to, I guess, let them take it all in and develop. It needs a lot of patience, and also being able to articulate, because I've got so much in my head, and some of those early days is I've started to realize this. People stressed, and you kind of wonder why people stress. So why is the stress? So I actually bring a consultant in, and I said, I think everyone it's really stressed. I said, I think we need to improve our dynamics. And as I said, this is free for all. You can give me any feedback you want. And I said, I'm obviously going to get a facilitator in to kind of draw out from people what is not working. And one of the things that I realized is that because I'm operating, it's all in my head. I've got a very clear idea of what I want to do and how it's going to be done and the pathway. So it's clear in my head, but I think you lost sight that other people can't see what's in your head.
No.
So you're not communicating, because I tend to be the heads down, get things done person. So you're not actually articulating your thought process and your logic behind things. And you would show up when they say, right, this is what we're doing. And they want to feedback was so, I guess, illuminating, is that, and so telling. I said, I have no idea where we're going, because the goalpost is always shifting. And I was shocked. Yeah. I said, what do you mean? I said, in my mind, the goal is exactly the same. We just have different ways of going about it.
Exactly.
So then I realized this is where obviously the business mentor at the time helped coach me. I need to actually spend time articulate my thought process. So I'm getting better now. So to articulate my thought process. And so, obviously it is an art to bring people on board with your ideas and bring people along with the journey, and they understand what you're doing. So I'm getting a lot better now. Delegating and executing
delegating
ideas.
and communicating effectively. And I find that this is the norm with so many of my clients. They start off as a sole practitioner in their business. They might be the artisan, they might be the tradie. They wake up one day and they've got 5 or 8 or 10 people. And, the most common complaint that their staff have is, we don't know where we're going and we don't know what you're going to focus on this week. And it's not that the goalposts have changed. It's just simply that, as you said, they know in their own mind exactly where they're going and how they're going to get there. They're spending a lot of their time sort of racing forward and looking back saying, can you catch up? Correct. And their response is, yeah, we'll catch up to you. We'll take you anywhere. Just let us know where we're going this week.
And you have to hold your temptation. If you can't catch up, then
and it's sadly, it's actually as frustrating for the leader as it is for the actual followers. Correct. Because there is this gulf in between of, okay, so why is what we're doing here actually leading us in this direction? And why are we going in that direction? Oh, we're still going in that direction. So you're not alone in that.
And that's actually one of the things that, that your comment, you're not alone. I really appreciate it much being in your CEO masterclass, because it was running your own business is a lonely place. And when things are not going the right way, I think we'll all take it a bit personally and we're taking it very hard on ourselves. And why is the problem happening to me? Like, you don't know, because I was thinking most of the time, you're so busy, you're not talking to anyone else or any other fellow business owners. So being in the class, then all of a sudden people openly sharing in a safe space, the challenges. And I guess normalizing it helps a lot. It takes off that mental load that you're not alone. And I did use during your classes, especially during COVID. I think it was really challenging for everyone mentally, and for the businesses too. I used a lot of your CriticalFew to keep the team focused. And every week I would say, okay, this is what we're doing, focusing on these two, but what are the actions that we're achieving, we're trying to get done this week. Each of us, we go around each of us, what are you going to do to make sure there's alignment, that we all doing something towards the same goal, not kind of jumping around doing different things that they think is important, but it's not important for the goal.
So how have you now addressed the loneliness issue?
I talk a lot more. I go and network and share experiences with other entrepreneurs. I think now I've learned enough to know whatever the challenge is, it's okay. Like, it happens to every business. It's part of the growing pain. It's part of the journey, and you try to be a bit more philosophical about it and try to learn from it, rather than focusing on not going right. This is why is it happening?
It's not about me.
It's not about. Yes.
Yeah, well done. And along the journey, you've collected, not only have you defeated some of the skepticism, but you've actually been awarded in a number of ways. Tell me a little bit about the things that you're proud of.
Very proud of my awards, but I think it's, I think now people will encourage people, don't have that imposter syndrome. It's not healthy. You shouldn't be thinking that way. But I think most of us do that.
Yeah.
You got to a point where I'm pretty sure people embracing my product. Surely I'm doing something right. But you always have this kind of like a little shadow man talking to yourself in the back of your head and thinking, maybe.
Are you really good?
Are you really?
Do you deserve to be here?
Exactly. So out of other people encouraging, I thought actually more trying to do it for the business. Surely, we want to establish ourselves as a genuine. We have something good that we're doing. We're authentic. We're not just another come and go product, not another hype. So we have to start thinking about getting some recognition. So early days, I basically say, I'm going to give it a go, put it in, but put my application in. But I never thought I'll get it. But I thought I would just practice.
Yeah.
So when I got the first award, second award, I thought, so people do recognize what I'm doing. That is innovative. So you kind of start to, maybe, we are doing something right. And then I guess one by one you're starting to realize, if there's an opportunity, it's a genuine award with good people behind it. I research and I'll put my application in, and I'm very proud to say that we've got such a big collection of awards now, and we can truly say that we are the most awarded skin wellness brand. It does help your confidence to have other people independently looking at your what you're doing and give you the confirmation that you are doing something right.
Yeah. That imposter syndrome, whilst it's unhelpful, it is so prevalent amongst entrepreneurs and really successful, driven people. And I think that actually it is one of the, painful as it is, it's actually one of the important parts of high achievers, is that it actually helps drive them to continue to prove themselves as being good enough. And in fact, when they're trying to achieve good enough in their own mind, actually it's excellence in everybody else's mind.
Yeah, it was a very interesting comment. I never really think about it that way, but it's a very good way to seeing it. My husband always says to me, is that you're not celebrating the wins enough. Because the moment I achieve something, I was like, right, still not good enough. I need to next. And he's always like, sorry, we're going to celebrate. And I said, celebrate what? he said, this is definitely worth celebrating. And then I'll kind of reluctantly comply and go, let's go out for dinner, let's go away somewhere. But I was constantly thinking about, surely there's room for improvements. I can do better. Yeah. There's other things I can do better. Yeah. And people can do better. Everything can be better. There's no such thing as perfection. No,
and that's right. There is no such thing as perfection. And it's unachievable, is it?
No, I think I do now accept that there's no such, and less harsh on myself and less harsh on other people too, because I think part of the creating stress on yourself and creating stress on other people is that your constant demand of perfection. Because it's always something going wrong, like that it's always, and I'll tell you a funny story of things going wrong all the time. With a trade show, one of my first trade shows, second trade show in Cosmoprof in Hong Kong. So enthusiastic, and we've got a big booth. Going there with Austrade. I spent so much time polished all my my materials to make sure they look so professional, like with a bright white corporate folder with silver logo, and then with a beautiful, perfectly blue tagline. And I say, this is going to be perfect. And then I showed up in Hong Kong. The printer delivered the folders, and we all saying, yep, they were going to put brochures in. I looked down, and I was completely shocked. My tagline says clear skin, supposed to say clear skin from within. I realized the printer decided clear is not the right word because it was in Hong Kong. The printer decided not to print it in Hong Kong, so it delivered locally. He changed it to clean skin from within.
Not clear.
Oh, I felt my heart sunk down to the bottom. And I've got 20,000 printed. And I thought, this is bad. I said, this is bad. And I turned white, and people are coming to help me with a trade show consultant at the time, and his wife, what's wrong? I said, this is terrible.
Yeah.
It's clean. Then he said, oh, there's nothing we can do. The trade show starts tomorrow. We have to do it. And I try not to ignore it. And the amazing thing was, not a single person noticed it. Not a single person. I was amazed.
It was just you.
I know, it's just me. So I guess those are one of the moments I recognize. It's often the person like ourselves. You're so nitpicky and perfection that you exaggerating the problems and creating so much stress that when you don't have to. No one actually noticed it.
Yeah.
Not a single person. It's a great photo. They've been commenting on, like, sometimes I get nervous. Don't run your fingers through the tagline because you see it. But they're just flipping through it. I love your photo. It looks great. And I was trying to put my hand over it, cover it, obscure it somehow. But no one saw it. No one. Not when, even after I brought the whole thing back to Australia, because I'm not about to write them all off and waste more money. No one here in Australia noticed it. We just kept going with it until finished.
Fantastic. So, Judy, tell me, if you reflect on your journey, what would you say are the top 3 learnings that you've come from so far?
The top 3 learning, I think it's you have to back yourself and believe in yourself, because early days, my colleagues, my town planning colleagues, didn't have no idea what I was doing. My family is questioning that I'm throwing my life away. And no one, because of the novel treatment, basically there's no validation. There's no one believed what you have on paper could work. There's so much uncertainty. So, but the only way for me to move forward was I have to block off all of that. Believe in my own vision, but not naively. I've obviously observed different validations here and there, enough information for me to think I'm onto something. But the rest have to put my blinkers on and back myself and boot confidence. Obviously, don't get me wrong, you have your highs and you have your lows, but then you have to kind of, during your lows, you have to be able to pick yourself up again and keep moving, and resilience. It is a thing that you need to have in, and also the art of communication. I think the communication, I think it's almost like nowadays, I think people value a lot more. But early days as a town planner, I still really appreciated for my old boss then. She owned the consultancy. It's one of the top agencies, town planning agency in Sydney. Work on with the biggest project. So one of the things that she was so progressive in the way she built the team was that she actually every month brought in a communication coach. To Friday afternoons, everyone has to be in the room. Once a month, have a consultant come and facilitate. How do you communicate? How do you communicate effectively? Everyone just hated it. Some people twiddling their thumbs, some people just rolling their eyes, some people just kind of sit there and they say, just get through it.
Survive it.
Yes. But I always thought I'm open-minded. I'm one of those people. I'm very open-minded. I just, let's just be open-minded. You might learn something good from it. So I never really understood it, the importance of it then. Until when you're running your own business, you realize
it's everything.
It's everything. Communication, your written communication, the way you communicate to people differently based on their temperament, the way you obviously even for marketing. Marketing is all communications. How do you articulate your messages? How do you convince people, even your own team, to buy into your ideas? It's all communications, and communications go both ways too. The miscommunications. Some people laugh at me. They say you're always a person trying to smooth things out. But I said, I'm actually not trying to smooth things out, but I just developed a habit of trying to see both ways, like both sides, because you actually, if you put yourself in someone else's shoes, you may actually start to see where the conflict and disagreement comes from. Because it's simply that sometimes it's as simple as it was just arguments, and not to do this, not to do that. And when I actually I'm sitting in the middle, listening both sides openly, they're actually talking about completely different things. So they believe that they're talking about the same thing. So they're over the butting heads. So communication is huge.
It's huge. Yeah, absolutely.
I think the third thing is, do surround yourself with the best people and advisors that you can trust to give you not only honest and obviously sound advice, but also ethical advice, because you do need people who've got your best interest in heart, but not in a selfish way, but also the broader community's interest in heart to do the right thing, because it's important to me to do the right thing. That's one of the reasons why, I think nowadays, with the explosion of social media, there's actually a lot of misinformation. And there's a lot of things that I could see people actually making things up. But it's so good. The making up of messages is so good that normal consumers can't actually tell the difference. By myself trying to do all the right thing and stay on the ethical path all the time can have its disadvantages. But you've got to live with yourself. Exactly. At the end of the day, is it about the short-term gain, or is it about leaving a legacy behind?
Exactly. And making a real contribution is such an important thing. How did the masterclass change you as a leader?
I think it really helps by going to your plan, like actually plan things out in a structured way. Because if you're busy running around, it's all in your head. You're actually not putting it on paper. And I do very much appreciate when you're going through the course with you and you actually get us to write things down, and even the 5-year plan, the financials, how it's supposed to look like, and how those things are very powerful, because it makes you realize and be able to hone in, at the end, actually, I don't need to fuss too much about my the expenses, the fixed cost expenses, because that is not the bulk of where the expenses is. I should be tweaking this instead, like for example, selling more, rather than focusing on that, rather than trying to nitpick every line of expenses. How can I save money here, which is meaningless, because you can't really tweak that much and it's not contributing to the financial weight anyway. So having all of that outlined and kind of structurally looking at the different pillars of your or components of your business and see what is the most important thing in each pillar to focus on, it does help a lot. And just being able to focus better.
You've achieved an extraordinary amount from the time where you got a bee in your bonnet about this could be the way, and you took a really laser-focused approach to it, to now you've got a successful business. It's recognised, it's awarded, and it's getting the distribution channels that it needs, both locally and internationally. What's the future look like for you?
I think there's room to innovate even further. I've got some very good ideas that I really want to bring it into life. I'm very excited about the export market, the export markets actually. We seeded the Korean market, which everyone is amazed at. How did you get into the Korean market? Because the Korean market, as you know, is the world's #1 skincare market. It's so competitive, and they have such great topical products, and that's where our supplements they recognize as something they really value that they so the Koreans actually embracing our products very well. So I'm starting to spend a bit more time developing that market with local partners. So back in May, I flew to South Korea for the first time. I met our local distribution partner side. We actually learned our meeting with local agencies to actually start building that marketing and the brand awareness locally in Korea. I'm really excited about that. And we're also starting to have activities and feedback from our some seeding activities that we've been doing this year in China market. I know China market is very challenging at the moment. But again, I think talking about, if you have great products, there will be people, China is a very big market. I don't need every single person to be buying Skin Me 5. But there are a lot of people with skin problems.
Yeah.
And the early feedback is that they're starting to have people seeding the market, they're starting to try our products, and they're getting great feedback. And this is in the backdrop where Chinese medicine to treat acne is a thing. But obviously we have a completely different way of treating it, which is, I believe, is more superior than Chinese medicine, which more work on energy, whereas we work on a different biochemistry. So I'm very excited about the building and developing the export markets as well as innovating our product range.
So, Judy, if we think about your peers, medium business owners, as they're going along their journey and reflecting on your experience, what would you suggest would be your critical few actions for them if they did nothing else to improve their business?
I believe, from my personal journey experience, develop a personal branding is very important, especially nowadays. The consumers are all listening and communicating, trying to find out brands all across social. Especially you have consumer products, but I actually think it's equally important for B2B service type businesses too, because people talk about the why. I think modern consumers and even other businesses are buying your services, your machines even, they buy from people that they like. So you do have to put yourself out there and make an effort to build a personal branding. I know it's difficult. I know how it's like. I'm actually naturally a shy person. I don't like putting myself out on social. It took me, obviously, if you wanted to build a skincare brand, it's almost like you working against yourself. So it took me a long time for my team to encourage me. I hate to say it, but it took me a good 2 years. They keep pushing me in front of the camera. I said, oh my God, don't do that. I said, I don't like that. Okay, we do it another way. I said, no, you have to do that. So I guess slowly, you just have to start changing your mindset. It's not about you. It's just start, rather than thinking the spotlight's on you, it's not on you. It's all about what you have to offer other people. People want to hear how you're going to help them, how what you have to offer is going to help them. It's more about them, not about you. So I think that's very important. I think also when it comes to forming partnerships, it's also very important. I think now doing it all yourself on your own, it is actually hard. If you can form partnerships with, complementary products where you can leverage on each other's strengths to grow, be it cash flow, be it people, be it infrastructure, be it network. I think if you can do that, it will help you grow better. Yeah,
fantastic. Judy, it's been an absolute delight to talk about this again.
This is so good.
It's been fantastic. Very much appreciated.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for having me.